tool that can be used in that way. And uh, I feel like sometimes with fiction, you can judge the characters more than you can a documentary or a real person. So you can use those fictional characters as your examples and say, what they're doing, I don't agree with it at all. Or what they're doing, that's really interesting in a way that you can't perhaps with a real person because there's guilt around that, right? You don't want to judge real people for their actions and behaviors, but it's very easy to judge a fictional character for their actions and behavior.
We all are gonna die. 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 Why don't we help each other prepare for it? Without death, there could not be life. I'm talking about end of life conversations, conversations about the end of life. Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
Hey, everybody, we want to interrupt this episode to ask for some help.
Yes, indeed. We would like to add value to our podcast for you, our beloved community, as we move into our third
How
year
cool is
of
that?
being here.
30 years. No,
3 years.
just starting our third year. We're very excited about that. So we really do. We want to add some value. And we'd love to have as many as possible of you go to our podcast notes and click on the link to take just a few minutes to do a survey for us and tell us what would make it more valuable for you. So we look
Yeah,
forward to hearing
and
from you.
and don't hesitate. Whatever is on your heart, there's a little space there that you can add your thoughts about what you'd like to hear more about. Maybe, even if it's books or music, whatever, just
Yeah.
let us know because we are here to in support of you,
Yeah.
our listeners. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Thank you. Welcome, one and all. I am the Reverend Wakil David Matthews. On today's episode, we have the privilege of speaking with Andee Kinzy. Andee is the creator of Kicking the Bucket, a fiction podcast about caregiving, family, and an older couple plotting to bite the dust. Only they're not very good at it. And I've listened to some of this, and it's fantastic. It's really, really beautifully done, and I recommend it highly.
Well, I am the Reverend Mother Annalouiza and Andee is an award winning multidisciplinarian artist whose work dives into what we rarely say out loud.
Mhm.
From a short film on body insecurity and mother daughter relationships to a multimedia festival exploring peri and menopause. Andee leans into life's big, messy, and often taboo topics, the kind most people avoid. We're going to discuss how kicking the bucket helps families and caregivers open up tough conversations around aging and end of life with laughter, plot twists, and maybe a little crying in public. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Which we absolutely love, that crying in public. I'm just going to quickly share the screen just to show everybody the Kicking the Bucket podcast that you can
Yay.
find online. And just the part that I loved right away, as soon as I saw it, is that beautiful couple. It's a great graphic. Thank you for that too. Anyway,
Thank you.
want to make sure everybody gets that and takes a look. We'll definitely put that in the podcast notes. So yeah, thank you, Andee, for joining us. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. I'm very, very excited to be here. And we were talking earlier about, I feel like I'm joining such illustrious company, and I feel very honored to be part of the company.
Mm. Yeah, that's how we feel. Everybody we meet just blows our minds, and it's such a growing and loving community. So really appreciate you being here. We like to kind of, I guess, set the bar, if you will, and just kind of hear from everybody. When did you first become aware of death or end of life yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. So, my dad was in family practice. So I grew up, he also worked in the ER. So I grew up with this, conversations about death and dying and blood and guts and injuries and like all of these things were fair game at our dinner table. So I was never uncomfortable around the idea of it, but I would say that it didn't really hit home for me until I was I wasn't, it was family pets. There were 4 of us, 4 kids, and I somehow had the unlucky ability to always find the pets when something had happened to them. So I
Oh.
came across them when they were injured or dying or dead. So that seemed to be my lot in life. I also did a lot of reading, and I was really into all of the spunky redhead adventurous girls like Anne of Green Gables and Annie and Pippi Longstocking. So they, of course, were all orphans. So I became, I think at the natural age, it's a development, right? An age development when we start to connect ourselves to the wider world.
Mm,
And um, at that point, it was somewhere around 7 or 8 or 9, I became super, super terrified that my parents were going to die overnight, right?
mhm,
And I remember I couldn't go to sleep unless I went into their room before I could go to bed and said, "Good night. I love you," because I was so terrified that something would happen to them overnight.
mm.
And then I would go to bed, and then I'd have to make all sorts of barters with the powers that be. If I do this XYZ before I go to sleep, then they're gonna be okay.
Mm,
Um so it was more so than an a specific incident that happened to me. This kind of speaks to my storytelling background. It was the stories and
mhm.
the imagining and the potential of what could happen that was more powerful, than anything that did happen in real life to me. So it was in that kind of age range of 7, 8, 9.
Wow, yeah, yeah. That's great. I love that way of thinking about it, just sort of and especially since you're bringing us storytelling and, yeah, for that to kind of been the way things came to you. That's beautiful. Yeah.
I would say that having pets or animals be part of your initial introduction to death and dying
Mhm.
means that I have this unhealthy relationship with movies where animals die. I get really, really traumatized. And a little way my sister is like that too, because if you get to listen to Kicking the Bucket, there is a dog in the story.
Mm.
And at the end, I was coming to the ending and I was like, well, should the dog die? And my sister said, no, she's like, you can't make them let the dog die. If the dog dies, everyone will hate you forever. They will never want to listen to the story ever again. I was like, yeah, I know you're right. Okay. No. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
my kids
love it.
hate movies that the dogs die, every
Yes.
time, or the pets. They're like, "Why? Why? That's not okay.
Mhm.
That should not be allowed."
I agree.
So, Andy, as you moved from the awareness that, dying is happening around you, how does that story link up to who you've become now?
Oh, yeah. So, the dying weirdness, I think that contributed to my super large imagination. So, I did continue in the arts, did theater, film, and now this audio storytelling. And in terms of death and dying and just what we were kind of comfortable with in my family, it you know, I sometimes joke that I wrote it because I could not have the end of life conversation with my parents,
Mm.
and that I needed a story to start the conversation, to help start the conversation. That, of course, was actually before I really knew how hard it is to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So, I didn't realize it. I didn't realize that there's this whole giant system in place that makes death and dying so complicated in the United States. So,
Yeah.
I kind of stepped into it from this more human aspect. My mom always talked about end of life autonomy, and she has a story that she shares about my grandmother that will be familiar to anyone who has Alzheimer's or dementia in their family.
Mhm, mhm.
She was at a checkout, checking out at a store one time with my grandmother who had already entered, she was probably I guess, in the middle stages of Alzheimer's at this point, and they'd gone shopping. And the checkout person looked at my grandmother and said, "Oh, is this your daughter?" referring to my mom. And my grandmother turned around and looked straight at my mom and said, "No, well, she's somebody's daughter, but not mine." And so, that is
Yeah.
like that heart,
Yeah.
that's like my mom laughs about it. We all laugh about it.
Mhm.
But and she didn't take it personally. But as my grandmother's disease kept on becoming more and more debilitating, my mom knew that my grandmother would not have wanted to end up like that, and
Right.
she always knew that she would not want to end up like that either. So, she's been regaling us with tales of Hemlock Society, like all these
Right.
like all these things for many, many years. She's like, "I'm gonna do this. I don't want to end up where I don't know all of you." So, that, of course, is kind of seeped into my conscious as well.
Mhm.
Um but then the story itself of kicking the bucket came about during the pandemic. So
Mhm.
we were separated from our aging parents, and as all of us were separated from our aging parents, or most of us. And at the time, our lieutenant governor in Texas was saying things like the grandparents would be willing to sacrifice themselves for the state of the economy, all these things that made society value our elders much less than I
Yeah.
think at any point in my living history.
Mm.
And so that was kind of playing in the back of my mind. And then shortly after that, women started to lose bodily autonomy in Texas as well. So this feeling of helplessness, I think kicking the bucket actually began around that question of autonomy, right?
Mhm.
And it kind of comes to, like, what is death? Death is the ultimate loss of control, right? So when it's also paradoxal. How do you say it? Paradoxical.
Yeah.
Right? So it's the ultimate loss of control, but it is also like at the point while we can't stop it from happening, we can choose how we're going to engage with death and dying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether it's faced with fear or curiosity or secrecy or humor or, denial, connection, whatever it is, those little choices are the autonomy that we have around it. So,
Yeah.
um, maybe you could say that, like, watching animals die and having no control over that led to my need to
Mhm.
discuss topics about autonomy or my parents' relationship to it. I don't yeah, I wonder if that was kind of how it, like,
Blossomed.
transferred through my
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and, looking at this wonderful story of Dolores and Howard, who are such sweethearts, the characters in the Kicking the Bucket, podcast, it just really is so, embodied the embodies the way that so many of us are going to deal with the end of our
Mhm.
lives, and one having a diagnosis and one having Alzheimer's, just
Mhm.
so many of us we've talked about that a lot on the podcast, and so many of us have dealt with the difficulty and the pain and the misunderstandings and the anger and the fighting and all this stuff that happens when people haven't made those choices. So I love the
And
yeah the
that's
word
what
word
your
choice.
workshops are all about, right? So
Right.
Yeah,
your
Yeah.
workshops bring the people together to have
Right.
these conversations in
yeah,
advance.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think this book is, I mean, this podcast would be a really good thing for people to share with their families. As you said, a way to get the conversation started. People always ask me, how do I even
Mhm.
start this conversation? My
Mhm.
parents don't want to talk about it, or my sister, or my brother, or my kids, whatever. I say,
It's
well,
like priming the pump,
yeah,
right?
yeah, watch this. It's really
Yeah.
fun. You'll enjoy it.
In some ways, because we do hope that it becomes a tool that can be used in that way, and uh, I feel like sometimes with fiction, you can judge the characters more than you can a documentary or a real
Hmm.
person. So you
Hmm.
can use those fictional characters as um, your examples and say, what they're doing, I don't agree with it at all, or
Yeah,
what they're
right.
doing, that's really interesting, in a way that you can't perhaps with a real person
Yeah, yeah.
because there's guilt around that, right? You don't wanna
Right.
judge real people for their actions and behaviors, but it's very easy to judge a fictional character for their actions and
Right,
behaviors.
that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, I'd like to hear more about your process and how this came about, how Kicking the Bucket came about, maybe more about what the story is about a little bit. Not too much, we don't wanna
Yeah.
ruin it for people, but
Okay. Well, you mentioned a little bit about it at the beginning, so
Mhm,
that's a good introduction. It is an audio it it's fiction podcast, so we're listening to a nonfiction podcast right now. So, fiction podcasts are fictional stories. Sometimes they're called audio dramas. It is a limited series, so there are only 8 episodes, 9. It's a choose your own ending. So technically, there are 9 episodes, but you may only listen to 8 of the episodes. The story is about family caregiving, like you mentioned earlier, and these 2 older adults, Dolores and Howard, who both have terminal illnesses, so they've decided to take charge of their own deaths,
mhm.
only they're not very good at it. So when we think about fiction, not that many people are familiar with the idea of these new fiction podcasts. Some of them are taking the style that we've done with this series of it's kind of like a movie for your ears. So
Mhm,
we have designed an entire beautiful soundscape around it to help you imagine what they're doing, where they're going, how they're moving in the space. Perhaps
mhm,
even
mhm.
you can feel them looking at each other, giving each other a look. So
Right, right.
it's this really kind of intimate listening experience. I mentioned that I come from theater and film, and this is a new medium that is different from both of those other mediums, but I
Mhm.
think in some ways that it allows the audience to be way more participatory
Yeah.
than some of these other, mediums.
Mhm,
I say that because in film, we often say the story has 3 lives, right? You have your life during pre-production before it goes into production. That's the writer. The writer wrote it, and that's the life there. Then it goes into production, and you have all of these things that kind of can affect the story in terms of cost or time or all of these other issues that come into play. And so the story changes a little bit, and then you go into post-production, and it becomes a little bit of a newer story there too as
yeah.
you're editing it for the audience.
Mhm.
And I feel like the audio storytelling kind of brings the audience in to this collaborative process because you are listening and you feel like you're part of the characters. You feel right there in a different way than I mean, I say that. I don't know. Do you feel like that with
Yeah.
fiction podcasts?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I love the detail, the sound details of birds singing, right down to the sound of the toilet flushing and washing your hands. I mean, uh, it's really, it really does. You really are just right in the. You get to you open your imagination to just being there with those people and imagining everything that's happening to them. So it's yeah, absolutely. I feel that way.
I
Sure,
have a funny
and
story
appreciate it
about
too.
that. Toilet flushing. So the whole project was able to come about thanks to a grant from the city of Austin,
Mm,
Development Department, and so we received this Elevate grant, which enabled us to find this incredible sound design team, Hemlock Creek Productions, and one of them is based in the United States, and the other one is based in Portugal, I believe, and blush as you're listening, you listen to it after the design comes in and you're listening. I said to the team, I said, "Does anybody else feel like that toilet sounds like a European toilet flush?" 'Cause there's a different flush, and then our sound designer was like, "I never thought about that before." So that was
Mm,
kind of fun too, is like you
yeah.
don't think about your environment having such distinctive sounds that
Yeah.
really set you in a place and make
Mhm.
it comfortable and familiar to people
Mhm.
who live in it. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I really did make you feel like all and a lot of little things that you don't really even pay attention to, but they just put you in that space. So, yeah, very well done, very well done. I love the irony of the company being called Hemlock.
Hemlock.
I know.
Yep. So, Andy, what are the biggest challenges you face with doing this audio drama out in the 21st century?
Or with
Let's
people as
see.
Or
result.
people accepting the
Yeah,
stories? Yeah.
yeah.
So it is, you know, th- fiction podcasts are fairly new. I mean, we've had radio dramas like around from a long time ago, but we kind of lost our knowledge of this as a medium.
Mhm,
So we're familiar with audiobooks, we're familiar with interview style podcasts, but when we come to this fiction podcast, it's a new medium. And within this medium, they've found that very specific genres do the best. So we're talking thriller, horror, comedy, crime. In fact, I did a fellowship at Sundance, and they did not even list drama as a genre for fiction podcasts. And I said, "What about drama?" And they're like, well, nobody really like, no, people don't really listen to drama." And so it's like, okay. So I first kind of created a, niche genre, like this dramedy genre.
mhm.
So that's a niche. Talking about death and dying is a niche as well. So I've like also a limited series. So you're not like constantly putting content out. So I kind of made the niche of a niche of a niche with this project. So, finding listeners is one of the hardest things, like how
Sure.
you get it out there to people. Um, but as part of the grant that we received with the city of Austin, they required an in-person event along
Mm.
with it. So, necessity is the mother of invention, right? So I was trying to figure out how to have an in-person event for a podcast, and I came up with this idea of listening clubs.
Mm,
And the idea was that we would listen to one episode as they were released, and then have an expert facilitator, guide us in a conversation
So
about that
cool.
episode afterwards.
mhm,
So we did this, and I had a great team. We have our producer, Dana Wing Lau, and then our listening club producer, Chloe Carcamo, and then Kiara McCarty was pushing it out there on all the marketing channels. And we had a great partnership with the library. Our
mm,
librarian here in Austin, who connected us with some other branches, she said, if one person walks out of there moved or changed, then it's a success.
yeah,
So they also were one of the places that were not afraid to have these conversations.
mhm,
So we had approached some senior activity centers, we had approached some retirement communities, and a lot of the resistance that comes from there is, "Oh, death, dying, we're not interested."
mhm,
And so it's been hard to kind of present it more as this is thinking about the things in advance so
mhm.
that you can actually get it all taken care of so that you
Mhm.
can live your life, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so that I would say has been the most challenging. It remains to be seen if it was a good idea or not. We'll find out. Time goes on.
It's
Yeah,
Maybe
gonna be a great idea. You're gonna be ahead of your time. In like 10 years, there'll be so much drama,
I
what is
know.
it?
dramedy, yeah,
Fiction
and they'll go
podcast that
back
you
and say, "Andee was the
the
queen in the
They're like,
beginner."
OG.
that one person way back
She's
then.
she's the OG of this. Yeah. So I feel like we get it early. We hit it earlier than we
Yeah, that's
before people
great.
are like, "Oh, that's a thing."
And are
It
those
seems
still
natural,
ongoing?
doesn't it? I mean, I feel like even these interview podcasts are very dramatic. Like
They
you're
can
like
be.
sitting there so intimately connected to the people that you're listening to. You feel like
Mhm,
you're
Mhm.
right there.
mhm,
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
it
yeah.
seems like people would be interested. We'll see. Okay,
How
I'm gonna
how
hold you to it. 10 years from now, I will
Okay,
say.
we'll check in.
Guess what?
If
That's
our
right.
podcast is still going, we've got 10,000 podcasts, we'll call you back and say, "Come on back and talk again."
Yeah.
What's next?
So so are those ongoing still, the groups, or did that just end at the
You
after 8
know,
episodes?
we're trying to find a model that can work. I'm working with 2 occupational therapists and end-of-life doulas
Mm,
to design a facilitator's guide that could be used by anyone to start these conversations similar to your conversation that you had with Monica at the beginning of September is when it
mhm,
went up about your values, right? You were talking about the values. So
yeah,
Mhm,
using the story to help perhaps discover those values
mhm,
mm,
mhm,
and creating a model that could be used by communities or educational institutions or other
mhm.
organizations. So we're kind of planning that right now.
Huh.
Also, it's out there, so it's not like anybody can't go, especially end of life doulas, people working in the space. It's not
mhm,
like they can't go, oh, hey, go
Mhm,
listen to this,
yeah, yeah,
mhm, mhm,
and see what you think. We've been entertaining the idea like you guys do about online, like an online listening club that could happen.
mhm,
It
mhm,
it was it was extremely, extremely
mhm,
beautiful and moving to have these
mm,
listening clubs. I did not realize how powerful they would be. I didn't realize how many people want to talk about this, but
yeah,
Yep.
don't have the chance or the opportunity to do
Mhm,
it.
mhm,
And by doing it over an 8-week period, we connected, like, we created
mhm,
a community, like,
wow.
one of the people at the end of the summer was like, "Thank you for spending the summer with me," like,
mhm,
that is what we did, so, um, it's also, like, could be the jump start to creating a community that continues to stay together and continues to have these conversations about
mhm,
death and dying and preparation, all
mhm,
the preparation
mhm.
that needs to be done.
Yeah,
I think that you should continue with a theater piece too and, like, kind of sculpt this
Mhm.
into a theatrical piece so that you could launch it out there too, so
yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that. I would go to that theater piece.
yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I've
and then
definitely
I always want theater where you can have a conversation with the audience afterwards.
yeah,
So you
exactly.
could do
Mhm.
So
that and then yeah.
Well,
yeah.
it could go to a comedy club then, and that way you could have a lot of, back and forth with the audience because that's where, you could really tap into the visceral reactions of people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because I work with, youth and Shakespeare, and so part of the scripts that I adapt are very interactive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
through the whole thing, they're talking to the audience and then, doing the verse and then talking to the audience. So,
Mm, nice.
I that's, like, one thing that I love is, like, collaboration. So,
Mhm,
I
mhm.
think that that's really, an important part of any sort of project, right? Is you collaboration and play, like,
Yeah.
that's brings the humanness together.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. And
right?
and and we get to laugh and have fun. That's what I love too about this thing. It's really lighthearted and yet, yeah, it's a deep subject, deep subject. And it seems like to me too, it's certainly something that I will the question I get more often than not is, how do I even begin this conversation with my,
Mhm.
with folks? And I think one of my answers is gonna be this,
Go listen. Yeah.
send this out. Yeah, and,
Can be a
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thanksgiving challenge, like, you're
Yeah.
driving on your road trip, like, just listen to it on the road trip. Yeah,
Exactly.
Mhm,
We'll
so,
talk about it
mhm.
at dinner.
yeah.
Uh,
It's funny, I was speaking with another end-of-life doula who, um, works in this field and still cannot get her mother to have that
mhm,
conversation.
mhm.
It
And I'm
happens.
like,
It's normal.
I yeah,
It's like the cobbler's children have no shoes kinda thing.
Yeah, yeah,
it
exactly.
really is. And I think the only reason that we've kind of made another step with my parents is because of this. So they
Mm,
came to
Mhm,
the listening clubs. They were there. Um,
hmm.
and my dad did joke. He was like, "I didn't like being the your example or your guinea pig for all the like, 'cause I would
Mhm.
say with my parents this. Um, but it becomes a conversation that d like you said, I think that this was mentioned in the interview with Monica. That's why I love that your podcast is titled End of Life Conversations, the
Mhm.
plural, because when we think of it as a one and done kind of thing, it's
Mhm.
never going to happen that way.
Yeah.
So it's got
Mhm.
to be these
Mhm.
conversations that we
Mhm.
just start and keep on having.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. Is there anything that you feel afraid of when you think of the end of life for yourself?
Yeah. I am mostly afraid of being the one left behind.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
that is my fear.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah, our last guest we just talked to, we spoke about one of her favorite authors and friends, who is probably in his 90s now. Trying to remember his name, Irv
Yolin,
Yalin,
Yolin,
yeah,
yeah.
Yalin, yeah,
Mhm.
who was a psychotherapist and his wife died, and the last 3 years or the last few years of their lives, they wrote a book together. Or the last part of their life, they wrote a book together,
uh,
and
yeah,
they'd been together 67 years, right? And so just this sense of that both she and him talking about what's my life going to be like if you're gone, if you're not in it,
Mhm.
yeah. So
mhm,
I really do relate to that on many levels.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's an
Mhm.
important thing to think about. And it's something you can think about how you want to treat that, how you want to be with that with your family and what you want them to know,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
a it you know, here's the thing, I'm gonna really mix it up right now, but, a year ago, I was at a bunch of teenagers gathering with parents,
mhm,
and
mhm,
I was talking to I think somebody brought up sex, and it's coming up, and oh my
mhm,
god,
mhm,
and this person said, "I don't know what to say." Like what am I gonna say about sex and safety and all this? And I'm like, "Our kids are 16 and you've never talked about it?"
Right?
And I
yeah,
literally said that to her, and I was like,
yeah,
"This has been an ongoing conversation since the
yeah,
kids could speak and point at the
yeah,
pictures at the Grey's Anatomy." And it
yeah,
was always
yeah,
like,
yeah,
"This is what's
yeah,
different, this is what's careful, this is what we say," and so I just am flummoxed by people's inability to consider, like, there are so many topics that we can be holding with
mhm,
everyone
mhm,
from forever, right? Like
Yeah.
sex and
mhm,
love and, like, how do you even find a good partner if you don't talk if you're parenting and not telling your kids, like, you might wanna think about these things. When you
yeah,
die, when I die, when the pet dies, like, I just don't understand. Like,
yeah,
what are
yeah, yeah,
people
yeah,
talking about? Like, I don't what?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
I'm s
yeah,
I'm s I'm shocked.
We're a little different maybe.
yeah, I know.
I mean, am I really that weird? Is this really why I'm not invited to parties? Like, I
I
just
know, it's
because
like,
I don't
she's
I
gonna
guess
come and she's gonna talk about sex and death. Totally.
100%.
And
Yeah.
white supremacy.
And white supremacy. Easy
Yeah,
peasy, let's talk about it. Not
can't have her, can't have her, no, yeah. I know,
Yeah.
I once heard, somebody say that no, it was a friend who told me, she's like, "I always talk with my son about sex in the car when he's in the
Yeah,
back and I'm in the
yeah,
front, so you don't have
yeah,
to look at each other." So we
yeah.
can think of, like, death the same way, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and that's actually a psychological piece. I've learned that any conversation that you have, if you're talking to a
Mhm.
male, it is better received as in their if they're side to side,
Side to side,
right?
yeah,
So you walk together or you're in a car.
yeah,
So I talk to my son a lot as I'm driving him too. But
yeah,
with women, they want to be facing each other so that we could like really get that connection. But again,
yeah,
it's like, all these conversations should just be really normal.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
because there's it's not a one and done, like
yeah,
you said.
yeah,
It's a curiosity,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
I
yeah,
mean, I grew up in a family where, I had a disabled sister who she was
mhm,
always dying. So there was always like, oh, this is it. This is it. But
mhm.
also my parents fought about who was going to be the pallbearer for my father. Like, I don't want him being there at your funeral, and, my dad's like, "Well, I would like my blah blah to be there at my funeral," and I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
You're not even
yeah,
gonna be there, right?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So,
that is, like, what helps make it so natural, right? You're,
Yeah.
like, just We n my I'm sure part of the reason that this, story has the humorous twist is because well, I like to joke that Shakespeare was my writing teacher, and I learned that you can't have tragedy without comedy,
Mhm.
but also my immediate family, spouse and kids, we're the ones who always laugh through the hard times, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we're always going, "Okay," like, that we even created like, we if we have a hard topic to talk about, we break out a terrible accent. We're like,
That's
what
great.
was it we were doing? Like,
Those are coping
yeah,
mechanisms, and it's
yeah,
okay to do that even if it's about death.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
yeah.
It's a good idea.
It kind of gets you in there,
Uh-huh.
in a way that makes it not as scary
Mhm,
because,
Right.
mhm.
I guess it's the whole thing is that it's the vulnerability, like, you're making yourself so vulnerable when you tell somebody how much they mean to you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and that brings up so many emotions that it's overwhelming, and so if you have some little thing that just kind of is right there that kind of helps support it so the emotions don't just all over the place,
Yeah, exactly.
then that can kind of help. It's like when I think about when you creation, right? You tell a kid, "Okay, create something." They kind of stop and they don't know what to do, but if you say, "Here are some markers and
Mhm, mhm.
here's a piece of paper, here's a piece of cardboard, create something within these parameters," then
Yeah,
they can create. So
yeah, yeah,
we just need to put a few parameters around it that kind of
Mhm.
help us feel safe
yeah,
so that we
yeah.
can then have I just made that up right now. I'm like, oh, what if we do this?
Yeah. Well, that's a good kind of, thought about, how you can take care of yourself in this world too, and this way of
Yeah.
being. We also like to, we do like to kinda ask at the end if there's anything we didn't ask you. I will mention though, when I was thinking about this, what we were just talking about, the laughter, that one of the favorite scene that I just listened to was of them being told of his diagnosis and laughing their way out of the office, and just sort of the person who was talking to them being kind of, what's going on here, it was such a beautiful scene. Anyway, yeah, is there anything else that you wish we would have asked you about?
Oh, so you mentioned that. I'd love to just give another shout out to the talent. Like, so
Oh yeah.
the actors who were involved with this, Mimi Strum played Dolores, and Richard Gartner played Howard, and we had a large contingent of other actors to play the other characters. Richard and Mimi were both part of the table read,
Mm,
so we were able to have additional rehearsals. The theater background, I love the rehearsals.
yeah.
So they were able to kind of come into the recording with so much backstory. Like, they were part of some of the changes that we made, and they just enveloped the characters in a way that I had never imagined that they could be, and it was so moving to have them make the words come alive,
Yeah, they do a
but they
beautiful job.
also were, like, sitting there. We were recording in studio for them. We had some people who were recording remotely as well, but they were right next to each other and everything. You could feel that connection with the 2 of them. So,
Mm,
um I'd I was so lucky that they came into my life to be part of this project, and Richard is actually 92 years old now, so
Wow.
it was, like, a really fun thing to
Wow.
have him be there.
Mhm.
He's been a performer, and the team has been incredible.
This has
Uh
really been a pleasure. I can't wait to finish the podcast and share it with more people, and
Oh, you know what? You just brought up what I wanted to say. I
good.
just wanted to iterate, like, this whole, idea of the choose your own ending.
Oh, yeah.
So, you can't do that in an audiobook format, and you
Yeah.
can't I mean, you could do it on stage, you can't do it on film, but it came about because during our table reads, I ended the table reads at the what would is the end of episode 7 and said, "So what do you think should happen?"
Mhm.
And literally half the people wanted it to go one way, like following Dolores and Howard's path and idea, and the other half were like, they need to talk to the kids, they need to talk to the
Hmm.
family. So
Mhm.
I was left with these 2 ideas, and, because it was such a very, literally half and half. I was like, "Well, maybe I should do both," and my
Hmm.
producers are like, "Yeah, do both, maybe do 3 endings," and I was like, "No, no, no, I'm
Woo!
doing both." So they became 2 different endings. They start out the same, and then they diverge, and really, like, that was such a gift too because I love them both now. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
both of those endings. I love what they both bring up and what they both do,
Mhm.
and I would never have explored the other ending if I did not have people say, "Communicate." Like, it's
Yeah.
all about communication. So,
Great. I'm probably gonna have to listen to
yeah,
both of them.
so you too can choose your ending, or you could listen to both, which
Yeah,
That
a
is
lot
such
of
a like
people do.
a junior high kind of thing, like choose your ending. And honestly, we could choose our own ending.
that's right. Yeah, we
Yes,
get to do
it
that,
all
right?
comes back to that because no one death or dying
It's the same.
circumstance is the
It's
same as
all unique.
anybody else,
Yeah.
That's right.
so we're all unique, so,
Well,
yes,
you
thank
sent
you.
us these quotes. Do you want to read those, or would you like us to? You should probably read them because you're the Shakespeare person.
Okay, so, this comes from Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet. Shakespeare is a big part of the story,
Mhm,
because
mhm,
Dolores is a retired Shakespeare professor. It kind of pulls from my, experience with Shakespeare. So I love this quote that Gertrude, Hamlet's mother, says to Hamlet when he is very upset and stressed about his father's death, murder.
mhm.
And she looks at him and she says, "Do not forever with thy veiled lids seek for thy noble father in the dust. Thou knowest 'tis common. All that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity."
Mm.
And I love that quote
Yeah,
because
Right.
perfect. Beautiful.
Yeah,
we
it's a
are.
great one.
All
Yeah,
that lives must die.
yeah,
We
Yep.
pass through nature to eternity, and
yeah,
whatever's
yeah.
next.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to finish. And I'm sure a lot more people will. At least I'm going to push it around a bit. So,
Yeah. I'm gonna
Thank
get it
you so much.
started.
yeah, yeah,
Excellent. Thank you so much,
yeah,
and, I look forward to talking to you again soon.
yeah. And we'll let you know when this is live. So, thanks so
Yeah,
much. Take care.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you for joining us today. Please stick around after the credits for our afterthoughts, and it helps our numbers if you stay until the end. We want to thank my children, Nate, Vivian, Nina, and her fiance Asher, for the excellent opening song, and a special thanks to our awesome editor, Sam Zemke, who is also a guest on our podcast. You can listen to him on Season 4, Episode 5. Also, thank you to Charles Heaston, the composer of the original music you are listening to now.
And of course, thanks to you, our audience, and all of our amazing guests. Please come back next week for another great episode. Share this with your friends, family, and community. We hope you will subscribe and follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Substack. Each guest's additional information will be found in the podcast notes. And of course, if you have a good end-of-life story to share, please reach out. We are always eager to hear from you.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, something else to think about and do. Go listen to a podcast drama.
Yeah, what a great idea. Dramedy on podcast. I
And
love it. And yeah,
yes,
just what I've listened to so far. It's wonderful, wonderful. Well done, beautifully done.
I,
You
I
can
can't
really
wait to
hear
listen.
the energy between the couple. They're
Hmm.
so fun together. So yeah, she made that point that they kind of fell in love, or they were, they totally embodied the
Yes,
characters.
the
So
characters.
yeah,
I am just so delighted that people are so creative and can continue like lifting up what is important in a myriad of ways.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So wonderful.
Yeah, so everybody should listen, and
Yes,
next one will be another excellent opportunity to meet more wonderful people. So come back.
absolutely. All right.
Take care.
And adios.
Adios.